Yo, 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 what is going on, CoD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka BN. Today, we are going to be taking a look at this latest Call of Dragons developer Q&A number 15. Let's see what they have in store for us today. As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you throw us up, because that's a lot. Thanks. Okay, first question. The High King skill system is too complicated at the moment. Will you be simplifying it the same way you did with title reservation? Now, they're referring to the title queue system here, where you're able to distribute and issue titles out in more of an automated way. You can set things such as how long someone can have it. You can remove someone who's in the queue. You can set this for each of the titles that you're able to distribute out. So it's a little bit more quality of life. It's more efficient now. So we've received a lot of positive feedback from players following the introduction of the title reservation system. We've also received a few suggestions which we'll take into consideration as we continue to improve the system. At the same time, we'll also be looking at the title reservation system as a model for improving the High King skill system, reducing the day-to-day burden on players. These improvements are still in the planning stage, so thank you for your patience and support while we figure things out. Would have been nice if they gave some suggestions, or just, hey, here's one or two ideas on what they mean exactly. I mean, there are some things I think that kind of do somewhat stand out, but it would just be nice for them to provide some kind of reference. Like if they picked this particular question, why not add in and say, oh, well, this is an example of what this person said in their post. Okay, number 2. I really enjoyed the camp-based gameplay. Will you be retaining it in the future? Camp-based gameplay, might as well get one out. That felt great. I really enjoyed the campaign. Will you be retaining in the future? A camp-based gameplay was a unique feature of Season of Strife 3. We appreciate that it has been very popular among players. This is interesting. At the moment, we have no plans to introduce/reintroduce it to other seasons. Okay, so it is more of an introduce. Seasons currently in progress. But considering its popularity, we will be looking into ways to expand it in the future, allowing players to collaborate more effectively. So the main part here, and I am happy they picked this question out, because this goes directly into what we've been saying on how, and this is starting to become more of a trend, where you've heard me say this multiple times, not only in videos, but on live streams, where my view now is that we need to allow kingdoms to select their starting zones, meaning the matchup or the team up portion needs to happen before, and then, and really just before kingdoms starting locations are selected. The challenge right now is that I got good sleep. The challenge now is that you are having your starting locations already decided, and then your diplomacy portion of the KVK starts. So the challenge is that you have one hand tied behind your back because you're already limited on the amount of potential matchups and options that you could do. You just don't have as much freedom. You don't have as much flexibility in being able to say, well, okay, we want to do these matchups, but what happens if that kind of, screws us for some zone 2 or some zone 3 fights possibly? And then it's just doing things in the FZ. Now, I don't necessarily think there's anything per se wrong with that. I mean, we look at the Bellerin Season 2 map, as we've referenced multiple times before, in one of the probably the most fulfilling KVK in the history of COD, which was between TFS and Nawar. And on that map, you had a hard west versus east stance. So because you had this like mountain range right down the middle that no one could pass, with the exception of one of the statues, which I believe was in the cross zone 3 between Morbrez and Doolin. You got phenomenal PvP once the final zone opened throughout pretty much the entire season, but it was pretty hardcore for those first 2.5 to 3 weeks. And again, that's kind of the give and take. But I think in this case, doing something where you either allow people to pick their starting zones, you do like a 1-1-1-1-1-1-1 spread, after matchups are decided, and whether that's through using the team up phase or I'm just a yawning machine. It's okay. It is what it is. Or you allow for the matchups to be set in that team up phase portion, and then you distribute the starting locations. You not only could you do a 1 by 1 by 1, which I think probably gives everyone some action, and most likely is ideal. The other backups would be doing like a north versus a south. You could do an east versus a west. I have to do it based on the camera position because this is west for me if I'm looking at the camera. So I think any of those could work. You could also just do different map designs that would benefit a west versus east or a north versus south as an example. So just kind of throwing some of those out there. Next question. A lot of players in my alliance that we have, where am I looking at? Weren't satisfied with the rewards in the Smash of Shadows event. Will you be changing them? Answer. Daily Double. Thank you for your suggestion. We're aware of a number of issues with the Smash of Shadows event. We've increased the amount of damage Shadow Forts deal to players to ensure that more players could take part in rallies and gain rewards. Okay. Going forward, there are 2 issues we are working to deal with. Players have been unable to claim rewards as they were unable to deal damage despite their alliance being victorious. Ooh. This issue will be fixed in 0.37. Players who joined the event but did not deal damage will be able to take part and claim rewards upon switching to another alliance. Okay. And then number 2, some players have told us that joining event rallies can be time consuming. We have plans to introduce an auto rally feature to allow offline players to automatically take part in events. Oh, so interesting. So however, these changes are still in the planning stage. We'll let you know as soon as the plans and finalizing features become available. I'm not mad at this because my whole thing is, okay, I could understand if they're just talking about PvE events. Now, obviously, it'd be a whole different thing if you're like, oh yeah, I can auto set my city to automatically join rallies. Any rally that someone sets during KVK, they'll automatically join it. That I think is a bit of a stretch because I very much feel like in order to participate in PvP, you need to be active and online. But if it's a PvE event, and let's just say, it's at a time when you're sleeping, I mean, I guess I'm 50-50, but I'm not like hard against this. Let me say that. I can understand some people's stance where they might just say, well, look, you just need to be online and active if you want to participate in events. And if you're not, then you shouldn't be able to do it. I get that. But that's why I'm saying I'm like 50-50 on this, but I'm not like hard, oh yeah, 0 to 100. I guess I'd have to see how it looks and then how people feel about it afterwards. Okay, next question. Are you going to buff the G3 Magic Heroes? Hero power balancing has been a constant concern for us. We understand that some players believe that G3 Magic Heroes are underpowered as they have been less efficient in obtaining merits over the same time frame. Through long-term data analysis, looking at damage ratios, merits gained, and other factors, we have concluded that G3 Magic Heroes combat performance is satisfactory. As a result, we have no plans to make changes to G3 Magic Heroes in the near future. We will continue to monitor performance of all heroes, including G3 Magic Heroes, and make appropriate balancing changes whenever heroes prove to be over or underpowered in combat. Okay. I think, to me, it feels like part of this, and when it comes just to hero balancing in general, is that sometimes if you are not using the most optimized build for a hero composition, that can impact and skew your results, your testing. Like my point is, if you haven't tested everything, if you haven't min-max tested to the fullest extent, you could be going off skewed information thinking that, oh, well, you've done the most optimized build. Now, in cases where maybe you have done the most optimized build against who you're testing against, then okay, show the data for there, right? Data doesn't lie. But I think based on what they're saying here and the fact that they didn't really give any examples in the question, I mean, it's kind of hard to go one way or the other on this. Next, will you make resource statistics in Storehouse visible? They are now. The resource statistics feature is now complete and will be included as part of the 1.0.36. The update also adds statistics for speed up items. Yeah, we saw that in the update preview video. The search feature in Roots of War is troublesome. We'll be making improvements to it. As of v.1.036, the search feature is no longer case sensitive. It allows you to search using user ID. Again, that was a requested thing by the community, so it was nice to see that worked in. After constant KvK battles, I find that I do not have enough elixir to heal my units. When I return to my home realm, will you take steps to remedy this? We've received a lot of suggestions from players regarding the healing system. We understand that a lot of players would like to see improvements. Due to the system's impact on balance in various gameplay modes and events, we are going to need more time to rethink the system as a whole. We'll let you know as soon as our plans for improvements are finalized. So I wonder if this means they're debating improving elixir or having enough, or maybe doing some kind of massive revamp like what they did with the migration system, essentially going from slots to points. I will say this. Simply put, I either think, and I said this in the interview with Sneaky for my suggestion, which was they either just need to make it so you can train more troops at the current duration intervals for how long it takes per each level of your barracks, and or make it so you're able to heal more, right? So either train more and or allow players to heal a little bit more, or maybe it's gaining elixir in a couple other ways. And I say that because sometimes it feels like, to me, the data on this is skewed, or at least we're not always talking about the full picture. And what I mean by this is when you're often referring to how long alliances are fighting for, especially when we're looking at a lot of the top KVKs that we're viewing and watching and paying attention to, right? The ones that have a little bit more hype around them. You have to consider the types of players that are in these alliances. These are, on average, low to high spenders. A decent of them mid to high spenders, right? And we're talking about the top KVKs, the top kingdoms, top alliances that we're watching for. So the rate that they will be able to heal is higher than what could be argued is the average player experience if you're thinking about free to play and low spend. So because of this, that's why I say sometimes those things can be skewed because they're able to heal so much more than others are, obviously, especially more in that mid-high spender range. You might think, okay, well, and they're still not able to heal enough, and maybe some people think they are able to heal enough. I think when I look at it holistically as the big picture, which is everyone, I think to myself, how long have people been advocating and calling for the ability to have more healing or increased healing? And some have argued just reverting back to what the healing numbers were in the very beginning of the game, which supposedly, quote unquote, were better than they are now. I think I've heard some reports of people saying, no, they are as good as they were back then. I think at the end of the day, in proving this, you have to look at what the data is showing you in zone fights and how long fighting is lasting in KVKs. And the fact is over a healthy number of seasons, the past healthy number of seasons, the overall duration of fighting, like high volume fighting, has been very low. And when you look at the data that shows you for the duration of the amount of fighting that has been happening in Final Zone over the past number of seasons, I mean, you're talking about like 1 to 2 days, max on average. A number of these KVKs have, especially in the last few, the Final Zone has been done within a day, some within 6 to 12 hours. And obviously part of that is because some of the accelerated building feature in gameplay, and others, and obviously due to the timing and activity that people can be online for, where it's more of a an aggressive emphasis on being on earlier rather than later, because you could take advantage and kind of push people out of the dragon circle, etc., push them back to further chokes. Sometimes you might even be able to push them back all the way to their pass or close to it. But even if you don't take kind of the new Season of Strife cycle, KVK cycles into consideration, you've still been having lower than average amounts of duration in the final zone for the kind of crescendo final boss PvP that we expect. And so I think there's arguments that can be made for these. However, that's going to do it for us. I'd love to hear what you guys think on this one. Let me know in the comments below. As always, until next time, we will catch you later. Maybe if it worked on me hitting my stop recording button.